a show like Saturday Night Live, where improv is welcome-ish and skits are rehearsed until the very last minute, it might seem obvious that things don't always go as planned. What's amazing, though, is how often the skits that go wrong end up being the funniest, best-received ones of the night. Welcome back to FilmShack. Today, we prepared for you Saturday Night Live sketches that went wrong. Number 12. That's When You Break, with Andy Samberg and Adam Sandler.
And that's when you break. Let the smile cover your face.
The art of breaking on camera has become so legendary at Saturday Night Live that Andy Samberg and Adam Sandler wrote a song about it for the show's big 40th anniversary blowout special. The duo sang a tune that explained breaking character was cool, and that it was expected, and funny to make the audience laugh along with you at the same time. That's when you break, the tune said. That's when you save the day. Like you made a mistake, the audience is eating it up. In the tune, the two SNL favorites cited Jimmy Fallon and Horatio Sanz as the two actors that broke character the most, but whoever does it, it's always a laugh-out-loud show moment. Number 11. Scared Straight, Underage Drinking, with Tracy Morgan.
You wanna break the rules, you gonna get broken. Right. You wanna pound beers, they gon' pound your rears.
Two ex-convicts, Kenan Thompson and Tracy Morgan, attempted to scare a group of teens played by Bill Hader, Andy Samberg, and Bobby Moynihan, who were caught for underage drinking. The criminal stories the ex-convicts told were stolen from popular films. Samberg and Moynihan managed to hold it together, but surprisingly enough, it was Thompson who kept losing it when Morgan went on his rants. To Thompson's credit, he tried not to laugh throughout the skit, but Morgan's comedic timing was too much for the longtime funny man, and he continued to break character several times during the bit. Hader also let loose a stream of laughs when both Thompson and Morgan got in his face, and had some fun poking at his cheeks and lips. Number 10. Tight Pants, starring Jimmy Fallon, Christina Aguilera, and Will Ferrell.
You drinking my sake, kimosabi?
Don't mess with the lioness. No!
Jimmy Fallon, Will Ferrell, and Christina Aguilera took it way back to the 1970s with their tune Tight Pants, each one declaring that they had the tightest pants in the land. The white pants the three sported, plus the fringe haircuts, were hilarious on their own until the skit began. You drinking my sake, kimosabe? Asked Ferrell to Fallon, after the funny man said in character that he slept with Aguilera, much to Ferrell's dismay. He followed with, you sippin' my soupe, Guadalupe? Again, Fallon couldn't hold it together with Ferrell, who always brought his A-game to the show, and time again kept Fallon in stitches. Aguilera played straight woman to both men, with hilarious results. Number 9. Bill Hader during any weekend update as Stefan.
Are you okay? You seem different.
I've had a weird few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not only did Bill Hader break character during almost every single episode of the long-running Saturday Night series, but his laughter had a lot to do with a long-running behind-the-scenes gag between the comedian and a show writer. SNL writer John Mulaney and Hader created the character of Stefan together in 2008. It was the writer's goal to get the funny man to laugh during the skit, no matter what the cost. In the SNL oral history live from New York, Mulaney came clean about how he would go about making sure Hader lost it on camera. I would put in new jokes after dress, and sometimes he would see them right before air. It wasn't like it was the first time he ever saw it on the cue card. I would say, this is now this is now this, and this is now that. Almost every time Hader broke, laughing uncontrollably at the ridiculous lines he was saying while in character. Number 8. Close Encounters, with Kate McKinnon, Cicely Strong, and Ryan Gosling.
I woke up in a dirty metal dome and 40 little gray aliens watched me pee in a steel bowl.
After finding out that 3 friends were abducted by aliens, the United States government grilled the small-town residents about their experience. While Strong and McKinnon managed to somewhat keep it together during the bit, it was Gosling who completely lost it halfway into the skit, breaking out into fits of giggles. As the interrogator, A.D. Bryant attempted to stand strong, alongside Bobby Moynihan, to keep the sketch moving along, but watching and listening to McKinnon's take, in character, of her brazen retelling of an alien sexual assault, the steadfast Bryant could barely get her words out. Strong stayed in character, but even McKinnon was not immune to the fits of giggles of Gosling as they attempted to finish the scene. Number 7. Jacob's Patience, starring Jimmy Fallon and Will Ferrell. Both Jimmy Fallon and Will Ferrell almost lost it several times, during a sketch where both comedians had to use plastic arms instead of their own. Ferrell played a deli counter worker and Fallon his customer, looking for the perfect sandwich. But the laughs really began when Ferrell attempted to do something as mundane as putting mustard on the sandwich, a difficult task when you're working with a plastic mannequin arm. Once the sandwich was finally completed, the comedians attempted to exchange money with hilarious results, as Ferrell couldn't quite grab the cash Fallon was trying to hand him. Fallon really broke down at the end of the skit when Ferrell attempted the task of wiping Fallon's face with a napkin using the mannequin's arm. Number 6. More Cowbell demands Christopher Walken. Will Ferrell provided the laughs to actor Christopher Walken in the classic skit More Cowbell. One of the most memorable and hilarious skits in the show's 42-year history would have been just another forgettable sketch if it wasn't for a last-minute wardrobe change. Show legend has it that the sketch wasn't as funny until Will Ferrell changed his shirt to the 4 sizes too small number he wears in the final bit. Show host and guest Christopher Walken was perfect, portraying the record producer whose fever could only be cured with more cowbell. Fallon lost at around the 3-minute mark of the sketch, and comedy history was made with one of the most memorable bits in the show's long history. Number 5. The Lovers with Clarissa and Dave, starring Will Ferrell and Rachel Dratch.
Wine from my boda. No thank you. No thank you.
Together during their date at the Wellesley Arms Hotel hot tub, Dave, Jimmy Fallon, felt ignored when his new date Clarissa, Winona Ryder, became enamored with love-obsessed couple Roger and Virginia Clarvin, Will Ferrell and Rachel Dratch. Watch the complete skit by clicking here. The sight of Ferrell in a Speedo would have been enough to send Fallon into his usual fit of hysteric, but it was Ferrell pushing Fallon's buttons by remaining in character as the sexual Lothario that made him break character time and time again. To Ryder's credit, she managed to keep it together for most of the sketch, until the very end. Dratch stayed firm to her role as Virginia throughout, adding the perfect foil to Ferrell's antics. Number 4. Jeffries with Sean Hayes.
Why don't you go back to Kansas, fry some bologna, and adjust the cinder blocks your house sits on, NK?
2 elitist clerks, Sean Hayes and Jimmy Fallon, tossed insults at customers, Chris Kattan, Molly Shannon, and Horatio Sands, at the trendy store Jeffries. But it wasn't until their gadget-loving boss, Will Ferrell, said the twosome were going to a Milan fashion show that the bit lost all its hope for no big laughs. See the bit via NBC here. Hayes and Fallon's rudeness was hilarious, but they managed to keep from cracking up for most of the skit, until Sands said his jacket was a genuine Looney Tunes, to which Hayes replied, "I didn't know Joey Buttafuoco had a garage sale." It was Sands who won the bit by making both Hayes and Fallon laugh, but it was Ferrell who left Hayes and Fallon screaming with laughter at their boss with a tiny phone and a big attitude. Number 3. Seth Meyers' LOL Weekend Update Joke-Off.
It's time for a good old-fashioned Weekend Update Joke-Off!
Meyers hosted the long-running Weekend Update on the series for years, until departing in 2014 to helm his own talk show. His rapid-fire one-liners were the hallmark of the weekly gag news series, until one night when he went up against his former colleagues from behind the update desk. Meyers found himself in a joke-off against Jimmy Fallon, Tina Fey, and Amy Poehler, former anchors of the update desk. The foursome took a joke about patrons bringing in Christmas gifts for needy children to a strip club and went with the bit for a good 3 minutes, adding one joke after another, until the winner was announced. It was a great moment in update history to find all 4 of the show's most popular and successful anchors together again for one final time. Number 2. Debbie Downer ruins Disney World with Lindsay Lohan.
Although the biggest drawback to working in a theme park is that you must live under constant fear of deadly terrorist attacks.
An Ohio family's visit to Disney World was ruined when Debbie Downer, Rachel Dratch, only discussed depressing topics. The sketch also starred Kenan Thompson, Lindsay Lohan, Jimmy Fallon, Fred Armisen, Amy Poehler, and Horatio Sands. Dratch couldn't stop laughing as she delivered her lines, being egged on by both Fallon and Lohan. Poehler found herself almost in tears as she watched Dratch attempt to be dour and bring the sketch down. In turn, she perked the bit right up with her attempts at being depressing. In this particular bit, Dratch barely got through the sketch, and Lohan had to run off because she was laughing so hard. Number 1. I'm 35 years old, I am thrice divorced, and I live in a van down by the river.
Well, you'll have plenty of time to live in a van down by the river when you're living in a van down by the river.
Foley's trademark line was warning his audience that, like him, they could only end up being 35 years old, thrice divorced, and living in a van down by the river. When members of his audience claimed any kind of accomplishment, he would respond with a sarcastic, well, la-di-freaking-da, or similar remark. The sketches would often include Foley giving wildly exaggerated gestures and falling or jumping onto a piece of furniture, destroying it or injuring himself in the process. This practice started when, in the character's first appearance, Farley accidentally fell on the coffee table that was part of the set, and not a breakaway table, demolishing it in the process. David Spade and Christina Applegate, who were playing the teen supposedly in need of Foley's help, had to cover their own laughter. Spade in particular spent most of the sketch with his hand over his mouth. At the end of each sketch, he would usually be quickly herded out of the speaking location, where the people left behind would huddle together and comment on it, usually bemused and fearful. Though his speeches always backfired, the end results would usually be successful, and that the recipients did not want to be associated with Foley. We would like to invite you to share your opinion with us. Do you agree with our list? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye!